I guess first just take care of regular business. I suppose right now every game feels like must win, or
No, I think every game is improve. Try to improve,
Okay.
try to get better. We are, okay, we've got a must win on Wednesday next week if we to advance in it. But I think we need to be getting better as a group. We have some really important players that are going to be coming back into our team over the next, hopefully, few weeks. Obviously, Ricky is months, but each guy right now, in my opinion, without those guys, the guys that are stepping in and the guys that are coming back and the new guys, it's about, within what we're trying to do, is understand how to take the appropriate amount of responsibility in each of the situations, right? So part of the reason our attack is not creating as many good chances is because we're not advancing numbers in the way we should be advancing numbers. So then when we get into attack, we're always numerically deficient in the final action because we are not advancing the ball from the back line when we should be carrying the ball to it to drive and attack somebody. So now when we give the ball to Gabe, Gabe's got to beat three guys. We've got to do better at advancing the ball to bring pressure to us to give so that Gabe can play more one-on-one, or we can play 3 versus 2, or we can create superiorities. But we are in a position right now where I think at times we're used to giving the ball to someone like Ricky who can then make a play, and that's not going to happen. We have to each individually take a higher level of responsibility to make things function on the field. And doing it faster, recognizing the solution quicker, right? So I think, this is the process that we're going through, talking about on the attacking side. When we go to go from possession to building speed into a final action, there's too many moments where we're losing speed, right? Our margins are thin right now because we don't have the speed of Joe. We don't have the speed that we normally have on the attacking half of the field, of Ricky, of others. We don't have that same dynamic level. So when you create what I call the group is a time advantage or a time edge before the opposition, to hurt the opposition before they can recover, our margins are fine. So we have to be precise. The timing has to be perfect, or else we lose those advantages and it becomes more difficult to score the goal. And so for us, it's about, again, going into this room right now and talking about and recognizing and seeing on the field within the game where each of these details are so that we can be sharper, better, to be able to be more dangerous on the attacking half, for example, to create more final actions, things like that. In the game, in order to create chances in the game in a possession style, you've got to end up in the right places at the right times and be moving at the right speeds, and the things that all has to kind of fit together. And right now, we're just a little bit, at times a little bit, and at times a lot off between these details. And so it becomes. Second is, in transition moments, again, we don't have the same type of speed at the top end of the field that we normally have. So in transition, again, the moment is finite between us being dangerous and killer in the transition attack, or that closing off and now becoming a possession again. Again, these margins are thin right now, and we as a group have the opportunity right now for each of us, as I said to the guys, to improve, so that when the guys come back, we can actually be better when we add Joe's speed, when we add Ricky's fluidity and his speed. When we add these guys in, each of us should be better then than we are today, and doing this at a sharper, clearer rate. And that's the attacking side of things. Defensively, I thought in the last game we just got outdueled in many ways. They were first to the contact in almost every situation. We weren't looking for their bodies, and they were going right into our bodies. And so we were, I felt like we were naive in that regard. And I think that's one of the things that, we as a group have to be more mindful of when to be physical in order to off-balance that defender to be able to handle the ball, when to be physical on the defensive side so that when that guy is trying to bring the ball down, he fumbles it up to us, things like that. So again, they're the details that we've got to continue to sharpen up. And I think, again, part of it is our evolution without certain guys on the field. And part of it is the entrance of new guys learning to play within our structure and our system and to play at the speed. I mean, you've got Elijah, Lucas, who's in here. They're coming to a new league and new speed and a new system. And so there's a lot of things that they're trying to adapt to. That's our midfield, right? And in addition to Eddie at the moment is And with Amiro, I want Miro to take more responsibility into the game for more things other than just chasing people down. He has a high ceiling, but I want him to continue to grow in the other aspects of the game. Tactical reading on the defensive side, advancing with the ball when he has space to help Gabe have better situations, things like that. So we're in the process of, right now, we have to improve as a team. Yes, we have to play to win every game, but we also have to be committed in these spaces to getting better every single day, because we have details that we have to improve upon. And if we improve upon the details, the results will come, because I don't think we're miles off, but our margins are very thin. Like, I believe that we should have had at least a draw in the last 2 games. We should have played 44 minutes or 43 minutes up a man in Vancouver. We didn't get the break there. I mean, this is the most obvious red card. We all said it on the sideline. It's over the ball. It's nonsense. So we're not getting a couple breaks here, and our margins are thin, and that's something that we have to be able to overcome, and that's part of what we all got to commit to right now, and that's what we're working towards.
In the attacking side, are you seeing progression? Are you seeing movement?
I thought we had more good attacks in this last game, fluid attacks where I felt like the movements the timing of things were a little bit better. And therefore, I felt like we got to some decent spots. We failed to put crosses in good spots a couple times. When we hit the second to final pass, we don't lead the player into the final pass. We play it at their feet, and therefore it doesn't become a situation. We miss some things, but I felt like, again, the conditions weren't easy. It's not the easiest place to play. I felt like we found some decent moments to create what I thought were pretty good looks, in a couple of those situations. There's still a lot of room for growth and to get better in those areas, but I'm seeing some things. Again, we've obviously played with Eddie, a couple different guys with Eddie, to try to find the right balance and the right solution with and without the ball in those scenarios. So some of it to me is I'm thinking about where last year a lot of times I had such clarity with our group. I knew who should be playing next to who in many situations, and right now it's trying to figure out within our structure who is the right guy next to the right guy to have the fluidity that we need to have to build the speed ahead of the ball, things like that. So it's also me working with the group and figuring out how to adapt with the group without changing what we want to do, because we will have guys coming back as we keep moving forward, right? So.
Could an option be, maybe I saw the other night, Gabriel, maybe going more central runs?
Yeah, I mean, it's a way we wanted to use Gabriel in the last game. The challenge is that he defaults back to wanting to go back to the wing and getting himself into what he feels are going to be 1v1 situations. I felt like in the last game there was a ton of opportunity for him between the lines and to be picking up the ball, moving and making final decisions, whether those are slipping guys through or choosing himself for a shot or things like that. But he kept kind of defaulting out to the width, which was then putting sometimes either Harbor on the inside or somebody else on the inside. So ultimately, we'd like to get Gabe on the ball a little bit more. That is something that can help us. And sometimes when you're just out on the wings, it's not as easy to get him on the ball in situations. And this is where some of our other guys need to support getting him the ball in the right ways, not just dishing it off to him and having him figure it out, but setting up the conditions so that he can be more successful when we do get him the ball.
So we saw more of Royce's playmaking ability in this last game, and now it's a matter of just kind of connecting it.
Yeah, it was a slightly different role for him, but I thought because of it he was able to face forward a little bit more. He had more options ahead of the ball. He was he was able to choose his options better because of, again, he wasn't just standing high and waiting for us to get him the ball, which is one of the things I think we're having sometimes a little bit of trouble with, is getting the ball at the right time in the right spaces to the guys higher up the field. By putting him lower, he was the one delivering some of the balls into those higher positions, and now we need to make better use of those moments.
Is that something you go forward with?
It's a consideration. I mean, it's again, there's pros and cons to all of these choices, and the oppositions that we play are all kind of different, but it's definitely something that on the day, I mean, he's a good soccer player, so depending on where you put him, he can have an impact on the game. So, but it's certainly something that we can consider. I thought he had a really strong game. I thought, it's not easy to go down there in Central America, and one, just meet the physical sort of demands of playing against a Central American team that is aggressive. They're running hard. I thought physically he met the demands of the game. I thought in his duels he was very solid and clean. There's a couple of times he had to track guys back, and he made good plays in those situations. I thought he's a confident kid on the ball. I mean, he was originally an attacker, so I wasn't really concerned about what he was going to do necessarily on the attacking end, because those qualities are his most comfortable qualities. It was for me kind of the defensive decision-making things and and dealing with one-on-one situations or dealing with runners in behind him and things like that. But we felt like Emmy was there, so if they did get behind him, he would have the speed of Emmy to be able to cover him if and when there might be a decision that was a little off just because of the speed of things. But I thought he had a really solid game, and he put in a ton of work, a shift all through the course of the game. So I thought he did a great job.
What's your assessment of Elijah and how has he progressed?
Yeah, Elijah, I think he's trying to gain the speed of everything. You know, he's a long, rangy player who, when he plays in the lower pivots, it's just about things being sharper, awareness around him and his feet being quicker and when to combine off of guys. Like, he kind of gets caught a little bit in the ball. So I think it's awareness and speed of play are things that he's adapting to still inside of our game and what we're trying to do, and depending on his role. I think when he's higher up the field, you get to see some of his rangy runs, and that he has more space to run and to work, and where things aren't necessarily so intricate. But when he's in the second pivot, things are a little more intricate sometimes, and those are things he's still organizing his feet, get himself in the right positions fast enough where he cruises from A to B sometimes. When it needs to be a 5-yard sprint, it can't be a 5-yard jog. So just things like that I think he's growing and he's evolving. But the issue is him and Lucas, in theory, should be able to come to our league and have a little time to acclimate. If you remember, Gabe didn't hit the ground running here either, and he's a phenomenal player. He's a top player, right? So these guys need time to acclimate. The problem is that we don't, as a group, a fan base and everything, we don't feel like we have the time for them to acclimate, because we're moving, right? And we're in a knockout tournament, and they need to acclimate. And so I'm trying to give them a lot of space, and Elijah a lot of space to learn and opportunity to learn, because I do think his physical qualities over the course of the season can really help us. He's a different type of midfielder, but while he's learning, you know, and that's just part of it.
Is that kind of the same thing going on with Sanabria?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same with Sanabria. It's also for me, like, the best role for him. Is it a little lower? Is it a little higher? Again, I think right now both of them are a little more comfortable higher, because it's not as intricate and the timing isn't as precise, and there's a little more space to run and to move, which is some of their strengths. And so, but again, I think it's adapting. And for Lucas, there's more variables, because in English he doesn't understand everything that's going around him when guys are communicating or when I'm giving some direction here or there. We're constantly translating, but there's a lot going on inside of, speaking as a guy who went to a country where I didn't speak French and was there, and I'm like, what the hell is everybody talking about? And you're trying to figure it out, and it's tactical adapting, and it's adapting to the speed of a new game. So it takes a little bit of time. Unfortunately, with the injury, he's going to need a little more time, just because he's going to be out for a little bit.
What's it here? Do you have a timeline on that?
It's a fracture, so I would say, I don't know, call it 6 weeks-ish. I don't know exactly. Hey, how are you?
Max from Germany.
Yes, nice to meet you, Max.
Just one quick question. What is so special about Marco Reus as player and as personality?
Yeah, I think, again, his experience, I'll talk on the field first, but his awareness, his experience is phenomenal in terms of like how soft his feet are, vision, how he's able to move himself around the field and understand solutions. So there's game reading and understanding what the game needs and all those kinds of things. But then there's just the ability to make the right choice. For me, the difference between great players and good players is the ability to make the right decision and execute upon the right decision more times than the average player in the course of the game. And the special ones have the ability to do more things than the average player. So he can change the rhythm of a game. He has quality in the final product. He has a lot more options because he has a lot more quality. But ultimately, it's how you apply that inside of the game, and he's got special qualities in that way. I think You know, Marco probably 10 years ago is shiftier, quicker, does more on the dribble, is more provocative in the way he plays, but now he's subtle and he's a manipulator of sorts. You know, not as much a guy who is running at people and running behind lines and driving and going one-on-one and stuff like that. So of course, with age, his game evolves, but because he has the wisdom that he does, he can evolve inside of the game. I think he's a great teammate. He's here wanting to connect with our guys and be a member of the team. And I think he's done a great job of fitting inside the group and connecting with everybody.
You have a meeting at 11:40?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna wrap up.
Wrap up now.
Yeah, I've got one I'm going to ask you, and that's just how you're looking at goalkeeping right now. Mikovic, he's got to get used to it all, but
Sure.
he's been shaking, especially with the ball, which is supposed to be his strength. Then we see McCarthy come in and just have a fantastic game. So
Yeah,
how
I mean, we'll
you
probably find ways to use them both here while it's really busy. But at some point here in the not too distant future, then I'll be more precise about who's going to lead us as we continue to move forward. But again, I think with all young players, we have to give Novak the opportunity and a little bit of a run of games to see how he can adapt and grow into the role. I also think it's hard to grow into a role when things in front of you aren't as smooth as you would like them to be, but and you're a young goalkeeper. So I think we've got to give him some space to grow and not just dump him on the bench and leave him there. But at the same time, we know we have a great goalkeeper in John who step in because of experience. He can step in and do the job.
Do you need to be clearing the ball out of the back at times rather than just playing it?
Yeah, you know, one of the things I think that John always understands is he has the green light to make whatever decision he thinks is the right decision in the moment. I think because of the conditions in the field, the guys were really concerned about the boxes because the boxes were very bumpy. That it was very clear that we weren't going to take a lot of risk in those spaces. So John hitting longer balls was also a product of just don't take risk in these areas because the conditions aren't for that. And so, but with Novak, it's also being mature enough to make a decision that I can just put this thing up the field and live to fight another day versus a risk-taking moment where you try to do more than you need
And
to.
having the confidence to do
Sure,
those
for sure,
decisions. Yeah.
and that's growth. But he's got to mature, and you know, the question is it going to be within us or is it going to be somewhere? So,
Great.
Thank you, Greg.
Update on Mickey? Or
Mickey probably 7 days or so. I think he's about 7 out, so we'll see.
Joe?
Joe was probably, hopefully, I think within the next. I don't know exactly, but coming around 2
3 weeks?
2-3 weeks. Yeah, that sounds about right. Don't hold me to that, but I think that's. He's back on the field, so probably by Portland, I think.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.